I'm Dr. Tony's Crooked Spine Show. I'm here interviewing Dr. Julie of First Learning. As my show is about stress, right? Okay, mine is about, and this shows me about how do we help parents dealing with kids that are stressed from their education, from not learning in a school sense fast enough, and maybe not part of their program the one way sometimes schools will learn. So my job with Julie today is, okay, how do we explain how First Learning works to help a child get to their learning ability and how they want to learn, correct?
Beautiful. And
getting to where it makes it fun, interesting, versus most kids go, I have to go to school today. Great. So understand with First Learning, why did you get involved in First Learning in the first place? What was your goal?
Okay, so I'm going to take a step back. It's Fit Learning. Fit Learning. So we're Fit Learning Inland. Yep, it's like Fit Learning Inland Empire, located here in Upland. My passion for education and educational practices first started, as a kid. I really struggled in the classroom environment. And if it wasn't for my personality and, for seeing how hard my dad worked, my dad was first generation,
okay.
From Mexico.
Okay. Got it.
And I saw how hard he would work, and I wanted to make sure that we would make a difference in our family's lives.
Wow.
Just first and foremost, just that first family. And, I felt a little lost a lot of times, but I just worked my butt off. And, if it was lunchtime or if it was, just breaks in between classes, I spent it studying.
Studying by yourself or with a teacher, with a group?
With myself.
Okay.
Just trying to catch up, doing homework, things like that. Because it was also in extracurricular activities like volleyball, sports. And so, it was really tough to see how well I did in school but failed all the SATs. I didn't pass. There's no pass or fail for SATs, but not a good enough score to get into the Ivy League schools that I wanted to get into.
Well, I'll tell you my score, second time, was 800.
800? I don't even remember.
I was
not even...
And I'd taken a class to improve my score, and I went to a college prep high school. I'm like, how is this not working?
Right. Yeah.
So it was, it kind of makes you feel very, if you want to call it, you're not worthy, if you want to call it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're not good enough to be in those that school setting with your other peers.
No.
Absolutely. But I still got into some colleges, and I went to Cal State Long Beach, and that's where I really found psychology and became interested in public health and just learning in general, and landed myself in an applied behavior analysis clinic.
Wow. Yeah,
working with children with autism and developmental disabilities.
Is that in Long Beach?
Yep. Yeah, my first job. And it was amazing to see this science of learning applied to these individuals with autism who have this global deficit in learning social communication abilities across the board, and they were learning.
Wow. So they're learning, how are they learning different than in their own school environment?
We were working with them one-to-one.
Okay.
We were doing assessments and reassessments and looking at what are the core component skills that really support these learners to learn. We can't just teach them to talk in 5- and 6-word sentences if they can't even make a phoneme sound.
There you go.
So it worked, and it was just so beautiful. So I dropped everything and I wanted to study it. That's what Skinner says.
Wow. Okay.
My hero.
Well, and a lot of it is, I think, is when you find that passion, it hits you.
Right.
Okay, now I know what I want to do.
Right. If this learning science can be applied to these individuals that have a difficult time learning, then why aren't we applying it to those that have a decent time learning to accelerate them so that we can go to Princeton or Harvard?
How old were you when you actually figured that out?
I was 19.
Did 19 back then seem like you were already behind in going to college or getting into a degree or a career?
Absolutely.
Huge, right?
Right.
And that's what I tell my interns too when I have interns, you're only 19.
Yeah, I know.
You have a long time to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't figure it out until they're in their late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
You have time. When you're in that time crunch, once you figure it out, what was your next step?
Well, I wanted to get into the best program.
Great.
I had to take a GRE test, a graduate records exam, if you don't know what that is. It's an SAT for grad school.
Okay.
Same story. I 4.0 throughout college.
Mm-hmm. You can work hard.
But I couldn't pass the test. And I took the test, prep, and everything. And, bottom line is these tests are a measure of your socioeconomic status. How much money your parents have to be able to pay for you to be prepped for these type of tests.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, or they're just background. My dad was Spanish speaking. He really could not support me past the grade of 2. So from there it was, who could I find to help me? Who was that model? Who can I lean on to learn from? And, luckily I was able to find that in myself, to find those people.
Good.
Right? Not everyone has that drive. I would feel stupid at times or feel less than. They didn't let that back me. If I was really naive, if you could say.
Naive but confident.
Right.
And some people, I would assume at your young age back then,
Yeah.
they're like, no, I'm just gonna give up.
Yeah.
I'll go and do what my brother does. I'll go and do this.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to keep pushing if no one's gonna help me.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Which is okay. But that's not the point of, the American dream, is to achieve any possibility that you want to achieve and to go out and do what you want to do. But luckily enough, I found an advisor in Western Michigan, which is the top ABA school master's program in the country, who understood what test-taking abilities were. And he said, you know what, I'm going to get you and we're going to figure this out. Now, I was on the bottom of the list. I just barely made it through. But I made it through, and he took a chance on me. And thank God he did, because then I came back here and I started working my butt off. But again, we were working with individuals with disabilities.
Well, you were blocked almost twice with low SAT scores.
Yep.
Okay, now me to be down here.
Yep.
Now my GRE,
Yep.
GRE graduate exam is low, so now I have to find a back door to get to the school by making phone calls. Hey, can I talk to someone? Can I find that counselor that's going to listen to me and understand what I'm going through? Because I've done the work. I understand what it takes to get the work, but I just can't. This one test is blocking me. How many kids, students, college kids, high school kids, graduate students that can't pass that just go, okay, I'm done.
Right. And then also, being from, that generation, that family, and I don't know if you can relate to, is navigating those systems. My parents couldn't navigate those systems. A lot of times we have to figure it out on our own. And, again, I got lucky. I didn't figure out the system. I just kind of kept pushing my way through. And, the journey was tough and it got me here, but, I got those skills and I had the great mentors that just led me to kind of, just close my mouth, listen, pay attention, and, do my best. And that's what I did.
Was that in Western Michigan?
At Western Michigan, and then coming back here. Yeah.
So your mentors, how old were you then?
I was 22.
Only 22.
Yeah, still. Mm-hmm.
Only 22.
Right.
Okay. And then why did you want to listen to mentors versus doing it on your own?
Well,
You've done it on your own so far, just playing devil's advocate.
right.
Why was it important to find good mentors to help you get to the next step?
They've walked that path already. They've had the
Huge.
experience. Yeah.
Huge.
And, if I'm not going to listen to anyone else with them, I might come up with the wildest ideas.
Throw the dice and just good luck. What
It
happens?
just wouldn't work. So if I find people that, you stand on shoulders of giants.
Yes.
And, that really clicked to me, especially once I got into my master's program. Stand on those shoulders of giants. Look at the path that they're walking. It doesn't mean I have to copy them exactly and do what they do, and that's what led me to Fit Learning, right?
How did that connect? How did that link?
Well, with applied behavior analysis and what we do with learning science, it's pigeonholed to autism developmental disability. So when I came back to California, had this beautiful learning science in place, what do we do? How do we teach not just human beings, but organisms in general? From microorganisms to goldfish to artificial intelligence. We have that science developed in behavior analysis and beyond. How do we take that and apply it to everything else? So when I came back to California to look for a job, again, not necessarily carving my own, road or space in the world, all I could find was with autism, developmental disabilities, and home services. And that's what we did. And I was so grateful for that. I worked with amazing families all across Southern California. Families are so patient, understanding, just want the best for their children. And I got to be a part of their lives and see a difference.
Wow. This was working individual one-on-one?
Yep.
But not with Fit Learning?
Not with Fit Learning yet.
Good.
No.
And was this back in Long Beach, or was that?
Back here in Inland Empire.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved back here.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 15 years.
Wow. 15 years?
Well, I would say 10 years, yeah.
And were you still doing some schooling too, or just practice?
So the last 7 years I was in practice, and then in 2016 I kind of just had enough. We have this great science that's applied to this great population, but I needed more. That's where I was like, okay, standing on the shoulders of giants.
Small group.
Yes. And now how do I become that giant to kind of move forward? Again, by still looking at what's available. And I went back to school.
Great.
I wanted to see where I could apply my skills. I had a short time in drug and addiction. I worked in some a group homes with adults. I just wanted to see. I worked in sports and fitness as well.
Okay.
And that's really what my niche was. So I wanted to go back to school again. Not knowing, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling good enough to be amongst these peers and getting their doctorate, in these courses. I cried on my first day.
What that means, but
right.
And how old were you then when you went back to school?
I was 28.
Still young. Still 3 more lifetimes to live.
Younger.
Amazing.
Younger. But now with the understanding of what I wanted to do, because I between that time frame, I feel like I lived 2 or 3 lifetimes. And I've gone through a lot of different personal things and growth, and that's where I came to that realization at about 28. I need to continue growing. I'm done just kind of being plateaued, and I want to take a challenge.
There's more out there for you.
Right, and it was scary, but I did it, and that's when I kind of came across fit learning finally.
Okay.
And so
how did that connect, or how did you link up with fit learning?
I was taking a course in program instruction.
Okay.
How to design programs to be effective no matter what you're teaching.
Got it. Okay.
And what is the science behind that? What is the technology that you use to be able to design that? And I came across this individual, her name is Dr. Kim Behrens,
Okay.
and she is one of the founders of Fit Learning. And the passion that she spoke about educational practices and applying our learning science to learners of all abilities, not just one population, but everyone from those in the 99th percentile to those with dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, autism, Down syndrome, adults going into college themselves. I just knew, this is the science. If I can't do anything else, at least this is one more further step to mentor the coaches that are coming in, the BCBAs that I supervise, that there is more that we can do than just this, in-home therapy, which is beautiful.
Great, but what else can you do to help a higher population?
Right, yeah.
And when the community, when you have, and what I've learned from being a bio major, once you have a scientific truth, you can apply it anywhere.
Yes, 100%.
It doesn't matter if it's someone that has autism, someone that has excelled in school, someone that just needs a boost up, doesn't matter how old they are, what gender, what socioeconomic background, you can apply that to anybody.
100%.
Wow.
And
great.
We'll touch on that socioeconomic background too, because testing scores are coming out, and it's just crazy. But yeah, so I reached out to Kim Behrens and her team, and I said, what do I need to do to be a part of this movement? And
this was what year-ish?
I would say this was 2016, 2017.
Good at that.
So,
I think that's 4 years, or
yeah.
that's 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years-ish.
It's about 5 years
Okay.
when I started this process, and I
Okay.
just wanted to explore. Deep down, I'm a clinician. I love just working with
Yes.
families.
Practitioner.
I didn't see myself as a business owner.
Yeah.
that part is, understanding insurance and policies and things like that.
Yay.
That scared me, so I took my time. I definitely took my time and just explored what it was like to own a business. So a lot of the business owners around Claremont know me because I bug them a lot.
Good. Should.
Yes, and I reached out to them.
Again, more mentors because they've done it before.
Right.
They've had a business for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Why are we not to go?
Exactly.
No reason to.
No.
Good.
And yeah, so when I reached out to them, this was also the time that my niece was starting to struggle a lot in school.
Okay.
She was in 5th grade at the time, and I was just, my heart was falling for her, because the only thing that the schools and doctors could do for her at the time was to medicate her.
So doctors, meaning she was considered
ADHD.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So instead of kind of looking at the holistic picture of her learning environment, her home environment, what her individualized style of learning is,
Okay.
they said it's somewhere in here, we don't know where it is, but we're gonna medicate that. This was also parallel to the time my father had a stroke,
Okay.
and he was very depressed, and so I picked up his prescription with him, and then I saw my niece's prescription. They were both being prescribed Wellbutrin. and my niece in 5th grade, 4th, 5th grade, was being prescribed this medication that my father was. And I said, there is something bananas about this because she's failing in school.
And you don't need a doctorate to say that's not right.
Right, exactly. But that was the best decision that everyone could come up with. But yet I was coming across this technology that said, we can do more. We need to go back.
Timing.
Yeah. And so the fire was lit. Yeah.
We're good. Just want to make sure.
The fire was lit there, and I started the process, and since then it's been like, I want to say not revolutionary, but it's just been so amazing for me. It's been such a growth process to see the changes in learners that are coming through our doors. You're talking about your interns and staff. My coaches come in and they are all so young too. And they feel like they need to have the answer today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they need to get it right today. And I say, absolutely not, you don't need to get it right.
No.
You can try it, go for it, change your mind, go a different direction a million other times, because that's life.
How many times has someone said, I'm good because I failed so many times, to then learn what was the right way to do it?
Those are the best CEOs
That's nice.
out there.
Yes.
The best business owners, CEOs, the richest people in the world. It's just like I learned from my failures.
And you're patient to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all kids. We all go through the same process. We want it now. We want what's going to happen, success now.
Right.
When you're patient and you realize it's a marathon, not a sprint.
So, but then that's very contradictory to what we do in school.
Exactly.
What you do in school is you have to get 100%, A+, and you have to be right when you raise your hand. And so then we get learners that are coming in that are afraid to be wrong.
I don't know this thing works. Ugh, get down.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want my peers to look at me funny.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be corrected. It's a lot of these internal, thoughts, these private events that are occurring that are then blocking these learners to be successful in the classroom, because they come in our door and they don't want to make a correct, incorrect response, for something that's, just minute, and we have to go through and talk about, these are learning opportunities. This is me knowing what you know and what you don't know, so then we can learn it.
It's almost a conditioned a certain way to, if they respond this way, they get the congratulations, good job. Versus if you respond this way, you're going to be demeaned or shamed, getting a C, D, F,
Yep.
versus getting A or B.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and all we ask is that you try your best.
Yes.
All we ask is you try your best, and then we'll figure it out from there. So that's the beauty of what we see here.
Walk me through your evaluation. How do you evaluate a new client, or what's potential someone that would benefit from this program? Just so you can take a step back.
Everyone.
Okay. Everyone how?
Everyone that is looking to do better in their academic background, their reading, their writing, their public speaking, their problem solving. Everyone. We get kindergartens, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, to more recently to a doctorate student going to Penn State.
Wow.
That just needed to fine tune his skills.
Is it learning how to learn efficiently?
It's learning. So our assessment process and what we do is we look at the foundational skills that make up a learner.
Okay.
So what are those true foundational skills that make up problem solving?
Okay.
A lot of times it's concept instruction. In our science, it's called mutual entailment, combinatorial entailment. It's how you relate and contrast things. It's how you set up relational frames, bigger, smaller, more, less, better, worse than, good enough, worse than. And it's looking at how you can relate those two bigger pictures. And so when we talk about testing and test scores, you came in and said, Can I share what you told me about your English?
Yeah.
I was a C+ student across the board. I was like, let me see, or in English. Let me see your test scores, when you were about in high school compared to the high school scores now. There's no difference. Our students are performing at basic level, not proficient, not advanced. They're performing at basic. Have you ever seen that ATT commercial where the surgeon comes in? He's like, "Guess who just passed the bar exam?"
That's awesome.
Or like it's just got reinstated.
Got my license back.
Yeah, and they're like, "Is that okay?" He's like, "Yeah, he's good enough."
He's good enough.
And we're not looking for good enough. We're looking for our students to be confident, proficient, and being able to lead our future.
Is there potential for kids in general here, but our teaching is, our institutions, our schooling is okay here?
Yeah, never.
That's the biggest thing. Can we get our kids, because they're our kids, here as young as possible so their learning down the line becomes easier in the future?
100%. Because right now what they're looking at is, was it the recession? There's articles talking about it was the recession, it's socioeconomic status, which it is. It's this, it's that. They're pointing fingers at teachers, parents, schools. But they're not going back and looking at, well, what are the foundational skills that are missing in these learners that are prohibiting them from being successful at the current level and beyond?
Yes.
We in the 90s, 80s, Bush put in No Child Left Behind. So now learners are passing at C level, D level, whatever, and they're going to the next grade level. They're not proficient. And even with that, our measurement systems at the schooling level as it is, as a pedagogy isn't sensitive enough to tell us, are they actually learning? And that's what we do. We measure fluency and accuracy. Fluency means, can they do it quickly and confidently without errors, without stuttering? How do they know these component skills? Because then once they have those component skills, what you're talking about, then they're able to make these neurological changes that allow them to make complex skills easier without direct teaching. If I know how to do basic addition, subtraction, if I know how to do basic multiply, division with my eyes closed, forwards, backwards, inside out, then when I do basic algebra, geometry, things like that, and learn those concepts, it clicks. When I have the basic foundational skills of how to relate things based off of their arbitrary and non-arbitrary, meaning you can't see the physical aspects of them, and do that fluently, then I can problem solve when it comes to algebra, geometry, when it comes to doing an ethics exercise. If I'm not reading fluently and I don't know my letter sounds, my letter names, know how to break down a word fluently, when I get to cacophony and I don't know the reason why it says cacophony.
It's such a big word.
How do you break that down? And then you're expected to read 3, 4, 5 chapters in college in a day and take an exam on it the next day. What do you expect to see with our suicidality, our levels of depression, anxiety, isolation? It's all going to crap.
At just some point where kids are going to go, you know what, I'm done.
Right.
I've hit a wall. And you mentioned the neurological program and how the body works.
Yeah.
Is there a brain change that occurs when you learn how to learn a certain way?
Yes, and Dr. Kim is definitely in the forefront of that, working with a lot of neurologists and seeing, definitely, and you can attest to it. Once you've done what you do in terms of be a chiropractor so much, you're so fluent at that, you're never going to lose that skill.
No.
You know what you're...
The brain injury.
Brain injury is the one, yes, definitely.
But
you can go take a vacation for 3 months,
it'll be there.
And it'll be there. And, that neurological change, it created a permanent change in your brain that's not going to go away. And you can apply new skills. You and I can talk, we're different. I'm psychology, you're medical. And it applies.
It works together. I did talk with a guy who he had a brain bleed, and he retrained himself how to coordinate, how to rethink again too.
Right.
If it works for someone who had a brain injury, a stroke, an aneurysm, brain aneurysm, why wouldn't it work for someone who's learning in developmental stage of someone who's still a child?
You're going to make me cry.
Right?
And these are our kids.
Yeah.
So, it's the same basic principles, but we're looking at it in an academic sense. And it's the urgency is now because, they look at, well, maybe we're not teaching our kids early enough. Do you remember what you did in kindergarten?
I think I threw a ball a couple times.
I glued pennies to a cardboard thing to see if I could count to 100. They're pushing the standards lower, so now they're expected to do basic addition and subtraction before they go into first grade because they think that's the solution.
No.
And or they're I say they. It's not blaming. It's not looking at the simple science. The most the most empirical research. What is out there? And instead we're grabbing for straws and creating common core.
You're trying to figure out little pieces versus the big picture.
Right, or like just new solutions. Let's give them bouncy balls. Let's incorporate tangible learning, which is all great and dandy. But let's just go back to what is the most basic solution. And the most basic solution is I can't say I don't think.
Yes.
I know our learners are missing these foundational skills.
And then why don't they retest them every couple of years? Do you have these first to move on to next grade or next program?
I can answer.
I know why,
Yeah.
but maybe
Yeah.
it's just basically pushing kids through the system
Right.
versus getting them to understand, okay, we're going to get you through the system, but as you get there, you're not going to be able to function at that higher level.
Right. Well, there's a lot of researchers that look at this. The background of teaching, and I'll give you the link to Dr. Kim's book. She writes this amazing chapter about how teaching came to be, how education came to be. It used to be a vocational skill, and it's kind of turning back into a vocational skill again. But it wasn't based off of science. It was based off of what is it that our students should know before they engage into the workforce.
Got it. Okay.
And it was never informed by science itself. And then in the 70s, we had this research called Project Follow Through.
Okay.
And they invited different types of entities to come in and do this long-term research project that showed who could produce the best learning outcomes. They had social, emotional people. They had just traditional. Then they had what was called direct instruction and precision teaching, learning science.
Learning science, okay.
And that had the best outcome.
Why?
We had the measures, we had the science that showed, okay, we teach the composite skills, we teach at an individual level, and then we push through.
It's quantitative at that point.
Yeah, but then it was kind of pushed under the rug because that's not how we teach.
No.
We teach this way. We teach with a teacher in front of 25, 30 kids, and we sing songs and we do it that way. We don't want to take away from the art of teaching.
The traditional system per se.
Right, and that's not the goal of precision teaching or learning science at all. We want to keep the art. The way I teach from the coaches that you met earlier, completely different. But we follow the same programmed instruction, we follow the same data-based decisions. And
There's a system in play.
Yeah, exactly.
And then walking through a child's evaluation coming in, what helps the parents understand, hey, this is a spot, this is going to help my child get to the next level, build confidence again in education?
So we a lot of times what I start off with is a consultation with my families one-to-one and discuss what their concerns are. From there I can kind of get a better idea of what we need to do in terms of an evaluation.
Okay.
We do 3 evaluations. We do a reading evaluation, a math evaluation, and a logic, problem solving evaluation. And 9 times out of 10, I usually recommend problem solving first.
This is going to be for all age groups?
All age groups,
okay.
yeah, all age groups. We have measures, different types of assessments based off of not age, because age is not a variable that we measure on. We measure on basic, skills like maybe like their reading speed, their reading comprehension. We might go one way or the other with our problem solving assessment, and vice versa. If you're under the age of 5, we might do what's called a little fit assessment, which engrosses all of the assessments together. So we pinpoint exactly where they need to be for the assessment, and from the assessment then we can pinpoint exactly what my clinical recommendations would be for services.
And walk me through a success story you've had with, say, an elementary school child versus a high school child.
Oh my gosh. So with our grade level kids that come in, a lot of times it's a quick cleanup. Come in and we'll get you up to grade level in like 1 enrollment. That's all we need.
Okay.
Sometimes, when we start the assessment, I can't predict the future. I can give you I think he's going to need 2 or 3 enrollments. We do things by enrollments, by 10 weeks.
Okay.
We do 10-week chunks.
That's your system.
That's our system. That's what it shows. Our data shows that we can produce the greatest gains.
And gains meaning that they're going to be permanent changes in their learning habits versus a quick, okay, learn this real quick and then we'll figure it out later.
Right, we're not tutoring. We're not Band-Aids.
Good, I like that.
And we're intensive. We're 4 to 5 days per week. We're working with you one-to-one. And, you know, from there, you know, after we do an assessment and we look at the results and we do a pre and post also,
Good.
aside from our day-to-day measurements. And we might say, you know, he could benefit for one more, but really he's at grade level. From there,
Good.
it's up to you.
Is there like where you can come in, say, once a month, hey, I just want to make sure I'm on track with everything?
We can do booster
Yeah,
sessions,
booster sessions, okay.
and just dial things down, but for the most part, probably won't need it.
And what's the emotional change in a grade level child once you get them to that grade level?
Oh, you see just this confidence. We can measure things from positive statements to, you know, how they're sitting in their seats, to guessing, and you see a reduction across the board with all of that. You see them smiling, coming in independently, sitting at their table, making jokes. When they start they come in, they start joking around with us.
Like, wait a second, confidence must be up here.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a night and day experience from that shy person that said that I can't do this.
How about a high school child?
High school is different depending on their needs. It might be a slower game because now we're up against 8, 9, 10 years of learned habits that might interfere and impede. But you know, sometimes we get learners that just accelerate through the roof, and we get to work on our advanced curriculum, which is so fun. We get to work on our basically our SAT curriculum. I call it my SAT curriculum.
Awesome.
Things that I wish I would have known beforehand.
Too.
Yeah, we call it, it's our advanced reading, our advanced comprehension and logic curriculum. We work on, you know, really intense analogies, you know, and morphographs, which is our vocab, our spelling, how to write in proper grammar, using persuasive essay techniques, and it's a whole different game changer there.
It's almost you're getting them to, yes, now you're high school proficient as a high school student. Now you're actually ready to take the SAT, ACT, whatever they're called now, and now you're ready for the next level of college versus
college prep.
College prep versus going to college. Now you're going, okay, what is this? I've never even seen this before in my life. What's the dropout rate just in California of freshman college students?
Oh, I've never researched that.
No?
Well, I assume.
I would assume it's higher than it would be if someone did not take this course.
Yeah.
And did not do an assessment, get their program, get their understanding where they are to learn at the next level. Because when you're in college, what happens? You're on your own.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I can't help you at this point.
Yeah.
As we wrap everything up, we have about 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell parents to get them to understand how to help their child with fit learning?
So the main thing that I've been hearing recently is we're all in the same boat with COVID, and it's not the case. Literally not the case. If your learner is not reading at grade level, is not performing at grade level, is having struggles in any academic field at school at all, it's not the time to say it'll be okay. There's never a time that says it'll be okay, because then the next step is, you know, testing, diagnosis, medication, you know, whatnot. When it could be just an easy fix, coming in for 10 weeks, cleaning them up and pushing them back into the classroom where they're successful. So we're not in the same boat. Don't say like it's going to be okay, because it's not going to be okay. Your learner's just going to continue falling behind. So if that's one thing I could say is that definitely start looking at what is the learning process of this child. How can we work with them one-to-one first before we move to IEP, 504 plan, medication.
That's what I worry about is when people are pushed that way. As a parent, you go, I don't know what to do. Okay, doctor. Okay, teacher.
Right.
Oh, you must know more than me.
Right.
Let's go your route. Versus, hey, there's someone over here saying, you have another option.
Yeah.
What I dislike with doctors or even with chiropractors too, is when they don't give you the other options you can do, versus this is all you can do.
Right. And I am 100%, and all my families know this, collaboration, coordination of care.
Perfect.
Whole person approach. So if we have a doctor involved, if we have the school involved, I want to be involved, because again, there's no right or wrong. We're all here for this person.
That person.
Yeah. And that's all I want, is that person to succeed at that individual level.
Good.
And you know, so never saying like there's never a blame statement here. It's just we need to focus on what's going to be best for that learner. And if I know that this is a big first step, then I want to take it.
Good.
For sure.
Good. Well, thank you for being on our show today. Anything else to finish with?
No, thank you. You made this super easy.
No, it's not that. It's getting the information out because you already know the information. You've gone through Dr. Julie. At that point, you know all the information. And just like with behavioral study,
Yeah.
it's applying it.
Yeah.
Getting parents and students to understand there are other options out
Yeah.
there. That's what we hope for. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Stop the camera now. All right.